Cool. So as the year is ending, I am working on re-uploading videos that I was already doing in the Gospel Seekers chat I had with my family. And so with that, you're going to see an older video where one thing I do when I do those videos that I really try to talk to you all. And so at this time, I was talking to my family. So, but I did have some thoughts, and the Lord was telling me to save those videos out of nowhere, and I started saving them, and then He gave me the call, started putting this stuff on social media. So, hope you enjoy. Here's some thoughts I had on something that I was meditating on for a couple weeks, and I'm still meditating on, and love to hear your thoughts. Other than that, if the Lord wills, I will see you all tomorrow, and we will continue to seek the good news together. Peace.
All right, so this one, try that again. So this one might be a little bit of a long one, just for the fact that I have a lot to say about this one because it's speaking to me right now. So this is going to be Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verses 1 through 6. Now, this is one of the quote unquote wisdom books. This is one of the books that is written to show how to properly live life, right? The wisdom books are Ecclesiastes, Job, and of course, Proverbs. And then, honestly, Ecclesiastes and Jobs are generally more of the down sour books, especially with Ecclesiastes, which is attributed to be written by King Solomon, who is known as the wisest man who ever lived besides Jesus. And everything that he reflected on in his life after loving the Lord and doing all these great things for the kingdom of Israel, but then letting all of his wives lead him away from God, right? So now he's at the end of his life, he's reflecting back on what he's done and how he messed up and how he's literally not only the wisest, but the richest man in the world at the time. And how he's like, this is what life is supposed to be about. Let me tell you. So what's interesting about this one is I came to this verse because me and Gene were watching Law and Order a couple weeks ago. And in Law and Order, the young lady who gets raped, right? While she's taking care of other people, her whole thing is she says this verse about the Bible says to cast your bread across the water, and so that it will return to you. And I'm just like, what? I've never heard this verse. So y'all know me. I do research. I go look. I type into Google. I find the verse. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 1. And it really is. From CSB, it says, send your bread across the water, for after many days you may find it. Right? And I'm like, that's not exactly what she was saying in the episode. She was saying, cast your bread across the water, and then it will return to you, or you'll see an increase, or something like that, right? And so I go to NLT. Now, a little bit about different Bible translations. There's a what they call the breakdown of word for word, literal translations, and then thought for thought translations, right? So NLT is a thought for thought translations where they will translate them into the actual literal words, but the literal words from Hebrew and Greek may not match our words today, right? And so if you were to do literal words, we may miss the context. And that's where I get the Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verses 1 through 6. In the actual word for word translations, you don't really make sense of what Solomon's trying to say until verse 6. More on that in a second. So let me read it to you both. I want to read it in CSB, the Christian Standard Bible, and NLT, New Living Translations, right? CSB is going to be a word for word as literal translation as much as possible. And it says, send your bread on the surface of the water, for after many days you may find it. Give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you don't know what disaster may happen on earth. If the clouds are full, they will pour out rain on the earth. Whether a tree falls to the south or the north, the place where the tree falls, there it will lie. One who watches the wind will not sow, and the one who looks at the clouds will not reap. Just as you don't know the path of the wind or how bones develop in the womb of a pregnant woman, so also you don't know the work of God who makes everything. In the morning, sow your seed, and at evening do not let your hand rest, because you don't know which will succeed, whether one or the other or both of them will be equally good. So verse 6, you can kind of tell where we're going here, right? It's the idea of keep working, do what you're supposed to do, and the Lord will bless what he is going to bless, right? But I love it in NLT because you get that sense from the beginning. So here's it in NLT. NLT says, send your grain across the seas, and in time, profits will flow back to you. but divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risks might lie ahead. When clouds are heavy, the rains come down. Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. Farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. If they watch every cloud, they will never harvest. Just as you cannot understand the path of the wind or the mystery of a tiny baby growing in the mother's womb, so you cannot understand the activity of God who does all things. Plant your seed in the morning and keep busy all afternoon, for you don't know if profit will come from one activity or another, or maybe even both. And what they talk about in writing the Bible, right? And how the Christian author or how the biblical authors wrote is verse 6 would sum up everything. Like, okay, cool, boom. Hey, I'm saying all these things to point out that yes, keep working. You don't know how God is going to work, right? And I love that NLT says, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and take all the thought process of verse 6 and attribute it to verses 1 through 5. So like this is a longer one. This is why it blessed me, right? And I've been meditating on this for a couple of weeks. It blessed me because we know that I'm currently out of a job and I'm looking for a job and I'm trying to figure out how to get one. And there's been a couple prospect jobs that I've gotten that I really like, and I'm very much praying that I get those jobs. And it feels like for me a betrayal if I keep looking for jobs. It feels like I don't trust the Lord if I keep looking for other jobs to give me the one that I want, right? Which is what we're pretty much taught in the church. And that's what I wrote down. Is like, this is contradictory to what we are taught in the church, to just pray and let God do the work. That if you keep working, you're not trusting God. But we don't know what God is going to bless unless he outright tells us. And in the Spirit revealed this to me. Like when you think about Father Abraham, right? Abraham was told, out of your loins, out of your generations, out of your family, all the world will be blessed, right? Meanwhile, he knows he old, his wife old, and she's been barren her whole entire life. But he directly told him, it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to make you rich and famous, and then all people will be blessed through you. No, he specifically said from your line, from your descendants, from you, like from your ball sack, people are going to be blessed, right? And we know the story of Abraham, right? Abraham and Sarah don't believe that Sarah is actually going to be the one to get the baby, right? And I believe the promise is from Sarah, like from your wife Sarah, you will bless all these nations. And so they come with a plan of, hey, why don't you go sleep with one of my slaves? Because maybe that's how God's going to work. No, the Lord was specific. He said, I'm blessing you through your wife, right? And so, and that's where he doesn't trust God. Because the Lord can say, hey, I'm going to bless you and you're going to be rich and famous. Cool. That's a very vague interpretation. We don't know how it's going to work. We don't know if it's going to be from working in a corporate America. We don't know if it's going to be from becoming an entrepreneur. We don't know what it's going to be. Like, that is a very vague blessing. It is, I'm going to bless you, you're going to be rich and famous. But when it's specific, that's when you know you're supposed to be putting your time and effort into those things. And what am I saying here? What I'm saying is, I know the Lord is saying, I'm going to provide for you. That's a promise in his Bible that I'll be provided for. That he is my provider. Okay, cool. Don't know how he's going to provide. So what am I doing right now? I'm applying for jobs until someone picks me up, but I'm also working on my writing. I'm advertising myself. I'm doing streaming. I'm posting more on my YouTube because who knows? Maybe this is the official calling. I got fired to start putting my time and effort into the creative side of my career. I don't know how God's going to bless me. I don't. It could be both. It could be I start getting some notoriety and then get a job that's good. And then that's a focus to, hey, don't stop working on what you're doing. Keep working on what you've been planting. Keep planting those seeds, right? But then when it's specific, right? If the Lord has said, hey, I'm going to bless you, Michael, through your writing, which he has told me that, right? But in this case, I'm looking at the promise of being provided for just in general, right? Then I need to keep working on my writing. If I'm not working on my writing, he ain't going to bless me. If I'm not planting those seeds, he's not going to bless. And so what I'm saying is, it touched me to understand that I can keep praying on the job I want, but I'm going to keep casting my seeds because that may not be what God has for me. I may want that, but that may not be what he has for me, right? And the flip side of that, like going back to Abraham, right? Abraham was given a specific prophecy that through him and his wife Sarah, they were going to bless all the descendants of the earth. Instead of sleeping with other women, he should have been putting the work in on his wife. Like a modern day man would be like, oh, the Lord said we're going to have kids. So I guess we got to do the deed, right? Like, it always baffles me that it was Sarah's idea, not Abraham's. It was Sarah's idea to be like, go sleep with my slave, and then got an attitude when she got pregnant. Like, girl, what'd you expect? So I'm getting off topic here. My whole thing is, I wrote down, is we work and trust God will bless what he will bless us with. And it brings back to the farmer, right? The farmer who waited for perfect weather, he's never going to reap a harvest if he just waits for perfect weather. The farmer doesn't know what seeds will bring a harvest, but God has given him many seeds to plant. And that's it with all of us, right? We don't know what exactly the Lord is going to bless, but he has given us tools, resources, talents to use. And if we aren't using them, if we're not planting those seeds, even as small as they are, right? I'm thinking about, again, me and the things I've done just in this past month, because it has been a month as of 2 days ago since I've been let go. And the small traction I'm already seeing because it's consistent, because I have time to put in to my career right now. Unemployment goes for 6 months, and technically me and Gene can make it work if we really needed to. I don't know. I don't know if this is what the Lord is having me do. All I know is that I've been told that he will provide for me and my family. So my job as part of the provision of that, right, the provision to my family, is to throw my seeds, right? So I'm going to get off this. I'm going to go apply for some more jobs. I do about like 5 to 7 jobs a week, right? And I've only had like 3 people really reach back out to me, right? I'm going to keep planting them seeds. And then once I apply for those jobs, I'm going to start working on my creativity. I already have a video I want to post on my TikTok and my YouTube today. And I took all my TikTok videos and re-downloaded them. And they're now all scheduled for the next month and a half to be popping up on my YouTube. So I don't know what the Lord is going to do, but it's my job to plant my seeds until he comes by and chooses to bless. Love y'all.